Hello again. In this episode, we are going to address the question, how do I develop an investment strategy? Now, this is based upon some powerful elements of prudent investing, but also I really think it's taking ownership. So I'm going to teach you in this video how you can take ownership because you look out for your best interest better than some fiduciary, because that term is used a lot in the financial services industry. And I've always looked out for my client's best interest, but really I want to educate you because there's no one better to look out for your own best interest. And as you learn this, you'll be able to determine the best strategy for your goals, whether they're short-term or long-term. So for the sake of this education, let's assume we're talking about a long-term type strategy for goals such as retirement, or maybe funding college education for your kids, or the golden years of your life. Because we have these phases where we go through the learning years and then the earning years, but all too often Americans hit retirement and it becomes the yearning years because they didn't have the best investment strategy in the first place. I mentioned that the term fiduciary is thrown around a lot, and sometimes advisors will say, well, we are fiduciaries. What does that mean? Well, they're supposed to put the client's best interest first instead of their own. Well, yes, I've always strived to do that for my clients and those people that I teach, my students and mentees. But I really want you to take ownership, that you understand the investments rather than just say, oh, I just want some advisor to make those choices, because then you're tempted when it doesn't turn out to want to say, hey, what happened? Blame. And they're going, well, you told me just to make the choices and so forth. Well, everybody should take time to at least understand the dynamics and the choices, the risk-return paradigm on any particular type of investment. So let me go here and show that at the end of the day, we want to see the end result, begin with the end result in mind. And so most people look at 4 different places to begin to take income during retirement, because we sock away money. That's called the contribution phase, and it goes to the accumulation. Hopefully it's accumulating with interest and dividends. We hope it's growing, right? But then we hit the third phase, the withdrawal phase, and too many people go into withdrawal when they hit this phase because of all the taxes they start paying that they didn't think they would have to pay. They didn't think they were going to be in a higher bracket when they retire. So that's the distribution phase. And then the transfer phase is when we pass away and we leave behind the money that we had earmarked if we had lived longer, and it goes to our spouse, our children, grandchildren, a charity, whoever we designate as the beneficiary. Well, when we look at the different investment vehicles, we end up wanting to take income in retirement. So the best strategy is, again, you've heard, to diversify. You know, I've been a financial strategist for 45 years. You need to not have all your eggs in the same basket, but diversification does not mean having your money diversified in inferior vehicles. No, I want my serious cash diversified into superior vehicles that pass the liquidity test with flying colors, safety, number 2, rate of return, number 3, and any tax benefits arising on the cake. In another episode, I talk about those 4 key elements that I want in any prudent investment. The problem is a lot of people have investment income, and I'm going to show you that gets taxed to pieces when they retire. Some people have real estate income. They have non-owner occupied rental income real estate and so forth. That's okay. Some people don't like to be a landlord, though. You have guaranteed income. It might be Social Security benefits or a defined benefit pension if you're a school teacher or a police officer. And there are also other types of guaranteed income. You can, if you feel like you want to absolutely know if you run out of money, you will not run out of income. My favorite is this one, the tax-free income. But see, when people would come to me as a financial strategist and retirement planning specialist, they were way too top heavy in this one. See, because this one would be usually yet to be taxed, IRAs or 401ks, in the market. And they would have 80 to 90% of their money there, and they start accessing it, and they're going to get clobbered with tax because the government has a permanent tax lien on those. So my job for them was to get them to strategically get a lot of that out before retirement. See, at retirement planning is something totally different than what you maybe did for 25 or 30 years for retirement. If you keep the money there, most advisors are not allowed to show you a predictable income stream because it's subject to market volatility. They can't. And if they do, it's based upon the average investor return in the market, which is only 3.5%, which is what is called the 4% rule. It depletes your nest egg, but not before you'll likely pass away based upon most persons, their LE, their life expectancy. So this bucket is usually too top heavy. Sometimes people don't want to be a landlord anymore, fixing toilets, evicting tenants, and taking out the trash. And so many times you either choose to continue to do that because you've done 1031 exchanges, or it's time to get out and reposition even after capital gain tax money to tax-free. You have guaranteed income. There's only a few annuities that I would consider. I doubt I'll ever own an annuity, but an annuity can give you a guaranteed income. If you run out of money, you will not run out of income if you live to be 120. Maybe between 0 to 80% of somebody's income based on their risk and how much security they want could be here. I think that up to 60%, 30, 40, 50, up to 60% of somebody's retirement income ought to be tax-free. A Roth is okay. I've never owned a Roth because my favorite vehicle, the laser fund, is sometimes referred to as the rich man's Roth, as I explained in another episode. But it has all the benefits of a Roth and 3 additional benefits that Roths will never have. Municipal bonds are tax-free, but I've usually earned at least 2 or 3% higher rate of return in a laser fund than a municipal bond, and some municipalities just aren't all that safe. What I love doing is helping my clients sort of reposition money from here over a 5-year period. So at retirement, maybe 60% was coming out of the tax-free. The IRS knows they're receiving it, but it's not taxable. But it only maybe up to 30% was here when they retired. Maybe sometimes people want to have real estate income or guaranteed income, but by having diversification, no more than 30% here, I would think no more than 30% here, I would have up to 60% be tax-free, and maybe somewhere between 0 to 80% if you like a guarantee. But most people, Social Security is the guaranteed portion. So those are the 4 buckets. So what does this all mean? So the key takeaway here is that at retirement planning is something totally different than maybe what you do or did for retirement planning. I would recommend that at least 5 years before you're going to retire, that you seriously look at where your serious cash is accumulated. And if you are way too top heavy in yet to be taxed IRAs and 401ks in the market, you need to make some dramatic changes. And so in other episodes, I talk about how to strategically roll that money out. It's not a rollover. That's going from the frying pan into the fire. You want to get the money rolled out and not subject to market volatility. And when you do that, you're going to have to pay tax, but it's going to be smarter to pay the taxes sooner than later, which I also teach in other episodes. Get the taxes over and done with, and then reposition the net after-tax money into something that's going to be tax-free from now on. I prefer the laser fund because it blossoms when I ultimately die. By doubling or tripling, increasing in value, tax-free, it actually reimburses all of the tax that I may have paid getting the money out of my IRAs or 401ks, so that our family is not out anything. You want to also consider, well, do you like owning real estate? But see, real estate should not be the only place where you have your money. Sometimes people think paid off apartments or rental homes or the cat's meow, and they get really tired in retirement because they don't like being a landlord anymore. So you either have to hire a property manager or you have to sell, pay the capital gain. But sometimes that's best if you reposition your money into a better strategy. The key is to use a vehicle that is tax-free, so you don't have to worry about taxes going up, that inflation doesn't hinder you, it actually helps you because you're linking your returns to the things that inflate. And then you earn predictable rates of return in the 7 to 10% average range, which I've done for over 45 years. And then if it's tax-free, then I can sleep at night because my money is not subject to the whims that people in retirement get blown away. So if this is resonating with you and you would like to learn more about how to do this, be sure and watch this episode so that you can understand, and then you can also get a copy absolutely free of my latest book, The Laser Fund, where you can learn even more.